Welcome to your Silver Circle. I'm Anita.
And I'm Mary Lee, and we're glad you're here.
Today we're going to talk about adjustments.
Because we're making adjustments, and that's one thing that we've talked to people a lot about is that if you don't like the way that it's going, great news, in retirement, you're the boss.
You can make an adjustment.
you can change it. You can change it up. It's up to you to make adjustments. And so when we got together at the first of the year, we're both sort of first of the year goal setters.
Yep, we have planners.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so much New Year's resolutions as it is just figuring out your goals.
Well, for us, what do you want to accomplish? In retirement, it might be like, where do you want to travel to? Or, who do you want to see? What new hobby you might want to do?
And I think for me, because I'm a little further into retirement than I was before, it is about adjustments because when we talked, one of the things I said was, so I want to do more of what's working and less of what's not working. So for me, it was kind of figuring out that what is it that is working that I want to continue, what things are not working,
right? Or
what things am I not getting to do that I thought that I wanted to do. And for you as a business owner, it's sort of the same thing too.
For me, it was, how do I sustain what I want to do, reach these goals, and yet still get on that road to retirement? So instead of working 40, 50 hours, how do I pare that down so that I'm not necessarily working quite so hard, and then I can make the transition into retirement easier? Because I don't think I'm going to do very well being the person who's one day working full time and then the next day I'm doing no work. I don't think I'm going to do well with that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the reading that I've done about retirement, there's the practical part of it, but there's also the emotional part of it too.
Right.
There are stages to I'm working and now I'm not. And
that's part of the adjustment too, I'm sure.
Exactly. It's part of who you are and what you want to be doing. But I think also it's much like anything else. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's also taking the opportunities to readjust when you want to.
So when you say readjust, like I know what that means for me, but for you, when you say readjust, are you talking like physical readjustments, like with your time? Are you thinking mental readjustments with what you thought was important? Now you're like, okay, I've been doing this for a while.
Yes.
It's not quite so?
Yes, all of that. Because I did just sort of, I was working.
You were working.
And then I wasn't.
And then it was like, okay, I don't have a job anymore. Today's the last day, 5 o'clock. Whew, got into a car. Now I'm headed to the beach. And that was it.
Yeah. And some of that was intentional.
Yeah.
Because it was a clean break, sort of I wrapped up what I needed to wrap up and I'm moving on. But I think also that we've talked in previous podcasts about being intentional.
Right.
And I think part of making the adjustment is also about being more intentional, because when you're a year in, you now know how things are going to work.
Or at least how they should work.
Or how they're not working.
Right. And that's half of it right there. I mean, obviously. But to know what's not working is just as important as to know what is working.
Right. And there were, for me, part of what I was looking forward to was more writing time. Mm-hmm. Part of what I was looking forward to was more time with the grandkids. And part of what I was looking forward to was not having all my time planned.
That's not working for you.
It's not. So you have to then go, okay, so what do you do?
Yeah. So do you think that was more of like your expectations? You have to readjust your expectations then, because what you envisioned retirement to be hasn't really worked out that way.
I
Not necessarily in a bad way, just different.
No, it's been wonderful. But I also realize that those things aren't just going to come naturally. Those things that you want to get to, that you're not getting to, you're going to have to make spaces for them. Mm-hmm. And some of that is making spaces for just taking care of yourself. And for me, that was one of the big focuses that first year was, oh my gosh, been at a desk for 30
Too
years.
Many years.
and making sure that I'm physically able to do the things that I want to do. But some of it's mental adjustment too.
Well, and we talked about how for you getting the physical fitness, kind of getting that down, that's almost become like your full-time job.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And especially because we were planning a trip and, with
a lot of walking.
With a lot of walking.
Yeah.
I think I knew there was going to be a lot of walking.
Yeah.
But it was even more walking than what I knew that it was going to be.
And not in like perfect weather. It
was
windy and cloudy and rainy, and so, there's a little bit of that too.
Yeah, yeah. I talked to somebody recently who said, so did you feel like you came back from the trip healthier? And I kind of did.
I did too. I wasn't expecting that. I ate healthier. I walked around. We ate a lot of food. We ate a lot of really yummy food.
Yep.
We ate a lot of great seafood. But I think I came back feeling like I had a cleanse.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fabulous.
Yeah,
we need to do this again.
It's crazy because I felt that way too. I felt like I came back and I'd been eating healthy food. I'd been walking rather than driving everywhere. And
although we did do a lot of driving.
Yeah,
too.
there was driving to the next place, which was a whole other adventure. But it was fascinating to me that I felt healthier coming back. Well, for a while, but
that's a different story.
yeah, that's a different podcast. But I think as I start the year, I want to make sure that I'm leaving spaces for those things that I had tagged as I'd like to take the time to do this. And I just had not been doing that. And I think it's worth a sort of list those things and figure out, are they really things that you still think
that are still important to you,
right,
or they're still something that you want to figure out. I know we've, for me, talked about, okay, now I understand how these things work in expanding my business. I'm where I'm at now fiscally, financially, this is where I want to be. So now how do I sustain that and then add in those things that are really important to me?
That's a really great point, because I think that, and I think retirees that have been in business will relate to this. I think your business is you when you retire.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. In business, I was used to doing strategic planning and setting goals and that kind of thing. And some people just want to go with the flow, but that's not either one of us.
No.
And so
we did marry those people.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think looking at it, like you said, that you look at your business is, okay, now I know more.
Yeah.
And I know how these things work. And do I want to adjust things? Do I have different goals? Some people in retirement, maybe they want to do yoga. Maybe they want to learn a language. Maybe they want to travel. Are those still your priorities? And how are you going to make time for the things that you maybe haven't made time for?
I was thinking when I retire, maybe that's when I'll have time to go to therapy. And learn how to relax, and it'll be a good time.
You could fit it in there.
I'll fit it in.
And truthfully, for our listeners that are pre-retirement, that's one thing we've talked about too. Can you ease into to something?
Yeah.
for me, I had just so many things that I thought I'd get to, and I'm now going, oh my gosh, a year has passed, and I haven't gotten to those things. So it's all right to take them off the list, I think.
Absolutely.
You know?
Because now that you've had a year in, you see what it's like, and you're not somebody who is just letting the day go away. You're not just sitting at home and doing nothing. Like, you're still very active in, I think you probably got to spend more time with your grandkids.
Yep, it's easier to plan those things.
Yeah, and then the health, and so the fitness and all of that. And so I think what you've done, and just watching from the outside, is you've really focused on those things you've decided, these really are my priorities. Mm-hmm. And so those are your big rocks, and you're fitting all the other little rocks around those. And now it's, okay, here's all my little rocks. Which one are really the ones that are important to me?
And two, I think that as you get further into retirement, you sort of decide that there are things that, man, if I'm ever going to get to it, this is the time.
Right.
And so you better make space for it. Yeah. So maybe one of those little rocks, it's not going to fit in there if you don't make it a priority.
Right.
And
put it in first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that spending time with other people who are retired, who are further along in retirement, and seeing what they're doing, they're downsizing, they're buying other houses. Some people aren't necessarily downsizing, but they're just staying within their own homes where they are. Has that affected your decisions and what's important to you?
I think yes. And I think the other real thing that it's pointed out to me is everybody's journey's different.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of retirees in my water exercise class, but everybody has a different what they want to do in retirement. And there are some people that are moving to much smaller houses. Mm-hmm. There are some people that are just making adjustments to their home. There are some people that are, you know what, I don't want any maintenance. I don't want to mow the yard anymore. I don't want to shovel the snow and that kind of thing. And are moving to like a townhouse or something like that.
Yeah.
And those are big decisions. Yeah. But there's also little decisions all the way through this where if you don't decide, life decides for you.
Right. Absolutely. So what are some of those little decisions that you think you're trying to make? Because I could think like a couple off the top of my head, but I don't want to spoil them for other people that you share. Because maybe I'm wrong in what I think they are little decisions.
So I think how I spend my time is the biggest thing that I've been dealing with, because I thought that I would have so much more time to write. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't happened. And so the realization for me is, if that's really a priority, I've got to plug that in a way that gets protected, because otherwise, you know,
people fill it up for
there's
you.
Another water class to take, or exactly. There's, you know.
I was thinking about, don't hurt me. I was thinking about, you thought you'd be much further along in the decluttering and organization of your house. Not that her house needs it, but I know that there are certain things that you really wanted, like your basement and all your books and all of that. And I don't think you're as far along in that as you thought.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I had a great plan.
You did, which is why that's the one I'm thinking of. Is you're like, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to have all this done, and
I'm at the stage where I've made it worse instead of better. So there's less stuff, but it's all out.
But it's everywhere.
Yeah. And that is one I really feel strongly about.
Yeah.
But it's harder than what I thought. The whole decluttering, downsizing, and I've thrown away cards from my high school graduation. I've thrown away a whole lot.
But you read them first.
I did.
I would too.
I actually had cards from the baby shower when I was born. So I took a picture of a few of those because that's fascinating.
Right.
That the cards are so different. But there are so many decisions to make.
Yeah.
And so it becomes, okay, a wave. And it's exhausting, not only physically, but emotionally.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To go through some of those things.
Yeah.
I was almost to a point last week that I was like, I'm just putting everything back in tubs. And
remember when I said I didn't want my children to have to do this?
Yeah.
I changed my mind.
Yeah, sorry. It's now on you.
Just come in and throw it out and it's all good.
Well, and this week the furnace guy came to do check out the furnace.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Can he get to it?
He's going to have to go in the basement where all this stuff is out.
He's seen far worse.
He was very polite about it.
Yeah,
but that is one of those that I really thought would take less time than what it's taken.
So that's one of those adjustments. So then do you adjust that? And I don't mean like you have to tell us, but I'm just thinking, okay, so of all the things that you're thinking about adjusting, does that become less important maybe because priorities have shifted because you're spending so much more time with your grandkids? You're like, well, I'm really enjoying that.
Right.
So maybe I don't really
Maybe
care.
making memories is
Yeah.
more important. I think, for me anyway, and this is just how I approach things, I think I need to figure out where this fits. Mm-hmm. Because I still want to do it, but I don't want to give up other things to do it.
Right.
So is it less of a priority? It is.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to give up the making memories.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up the travel.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up the feeling better and feeling more healthy. So it just has to adjust to
to where you can.
Yeah.
So maybe, you do an area or an hour instead of trying to knock out a larger chunk of,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. I'd be interested in what other people have. I think that's one of the things with retirement is you've never done it before.
Right. It's true. So it's like, it's new.
Yeah.
So if you like experiencing new things, that's a good thing. If you don't like experiencing new things, that can be a little overwhelming. And so then that kind of goes to where you were talking about earlier about emotionally and mentally
Sort of
having
those
to
stages
make those changes, make those adjustments.
And it's so different today, I think, than what retirement was. And there's so many options.
Yeah.
So
Because you can retire, retirement can be retiring from that job, but then you just go get a different other type of job. And so, yeah, you're still doing other work.
And so here's the other thing that I have to say here is if you're married, you're also aligning that with someone else or not aligning that with someone else.
Right.
And so they may have a different approach to retirement than what you have. They may have different priorities than what you have. And that was part of my first of the year thing was what Tim did was he now is involved in some really meaningful work.
Right.
But work that is time consuming for him. And so I have to figure out how we navigate that.
Right.
As will you.
So we've already had this discussion, and I know 100% that when he says I'm retiring, he will be done, and he'll spend a couple days just doing nothing because he'll have to readjust, and then he's going to go a little stir crazy because at least right now he does not know what he wants to do. He has lots of ideas, but he's not an executor of those ideas. He just loves ideas, and then it's like, oh, I've conquered this, I figured out, move on to the next. And I've always been behind the scenes putting those together.
So
I don't know. I think it's going to be a little stressful. And so I keep telling myself, okay, you just have to be mentally prepared because I work from home and he will be home all day. Right now we're like in the phase-in stage because he's home most
part of the week.
Yeah. Partly Thursdays, most days Fridays. And so he does a really good job staying out of my workspace. But when he's just here every day, I don't know. I'm going to be like, do you have a job yet? Do you have new friends? Do you have a hobby?
Well, and I think part of it, because Tim is so busy, you know, part of it is how do you plan around that too?
Yeah, because you're trying to do things together.
Right.
Yeah.
And
whereas I'm going, so we're going to be apart and doing our own thing. See, already I'm going to have to adjust my expectations.
But I think everybody has that in a way because your spouse has been doing what they do.
Yeah.
And whether they retire first or second, you've operated in a particular way with each other. And that changes.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's part of the adjustment that I'm going through too is, and maybe you're right, maybe some of that is managing my expectations.
Well, I know it's right for me. I can't speak for you, but I just know it's going to be my issue.
Well, and you want them to have the retirement that they want to have.
Right, and that they deserve.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. But you also have to figure out how that melds together.
Right. Because you're still partners, you're still married.
So here's one of the things. One of the expectations that I had was that we could just travel at the drop of a hat. I mean, we could just
pick up and go.
Like
you did. But I have to say, that expectation was set from day one because it was like Friday. Well, I don't even think it was a Friday. It was like your last day was a Thursday, and Friday you were at the beach.
True.
So that expectation was kind of set.
But even just small.
Yeah, like little road trips or
that type of
a 5-hour trip here.
Yeah, and that's not the case because he has commitments. So he's retired, but he has commitments. So it can't be we're just going to go to Chicago. We're just going to, we finally the other day just went to this coffee shop I've been wanting to go to, but it's just on the other side of town, you know. So there's managing that too, because there's one with different free time than the other.
Well, I just told my husband, I said, look, if you don't have time to go on vacation with me, I have friends who will go on vacation with me.
We'll go on vacation together.
And we'll go. And he said, you would do that. You do have that, don't you? And I said, yes, and I'm not afraid to utilize that. So figure it out or just let me go.
Well, we're interested in if other people have also encountered the need to make adjustments and what advice you might, and if there are particular things that you'd like us to talk about, we're always happy to hear about topics that you'd like us to cover.
So feel free to leave a comment below. Please like and subscribe. That helps get our videos out there to more people like you. If you want more information or you want to drop us a line, you can visit our website at www.yoursilvercircle.com, yoursilvercircle.com, and you can contact us there and leave a comment.
And look for us on social media. All of those links are on the website.
Yep. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.